All right. Test, test, test. 1, 2, 3. Is this thing even working? I have no idea. Hey, how's it going? Lee Hayward here, and I'm a bit frustrated right now because I had scheduled a chat to go live, as I always do every Friday afternoon at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And I had the chat room up and running, and then YouTube changes the settings, because normally what happens is I can schedule a chat in advance, and then I go ahead and I share that link, and then I come into that chat later on and go live. Anyway, I tried to do that today, and it won't let me. So I'm not sure exactly how it's going to work, if I can do that in the future or what, but they've totally changed the system. Like what I'm looking at here from my end is like chalk and cheese from what I was doing here last week. They've totally changed the system, and I only have one live stream per week. So I had no idea that they were going to change this setting until I decided to run the video chat today. And of course I didn't turn it on because I mean, it's the same thing usually. And so I know we had a lot of people who wanted to tune in for the chat as always, and shit happens, right? It wasn't there, it wasn't working. So anyway, I think it's running fine now, but the thing that's kind of confusing and frustrating for me is what I like to do is I like to share the link in advance so that I can go and share it, on social media and whatever, but I don't know if I'll be able to do that in the future with the way this new chat is set up. So I'll have to do my homework over the next week, before our next video chat to figure this stuff out, because it's all... Like, I know YouTube is trying to make things better for the greater good, but it's freaking frustrating when they change it last minute. And there was no warning. Like when I was logging into my account this week, there was no warning like, oh, we're going to change the live stream. So I just figure out, last minute when the shit hits the fan, that's when I figure it out. Anyway, I'm here, I'm live, and there's people chatting. So just to confirm, for those of you who are chatting right now, can you hear me? Can you see me? Is this actually coming through loud and clear? Blah, blah, blah. If you can do that, I would appreciate it. Just to let me know if this is actually working or not, because I have no idea. Loud and clear. Okay, cool. Well, I'm a bit pressed for time because I just lost over a half an hour freaking around with trying to get this thing up and running, and but I'll still do a half-hour video chat nonetheless. So I know there was people tuned into the last one. I know there was a bunch of questions came in. Unfortunately, that's like a fart in the wind. Those things are gone right now, and we're starting off fresh. So if you are joining in live, you can post any questions or comments or topics of discussion that you would like to have covered, and I will do my best to answer those. And if you're new to these video chats, I know a lot of people who tune in are regulars, but of course we always have some new people tune in. The way this works is I'm going to be hanging out here and just doing a live Q&A. So anything that you want to ask with regards to bodybuilding and fitness, nutrition, building muscle, losing fat, all that kind of stuff, feel free to post it into the video chat, and I'll do the best I can to help you out. All right, so let's see. We have Jesse is joining us. We have Carnage joining us. Gabe, Manuel. Cool. Well, welcome, guys. All right, first question here. Any tips on growing the forearms? I heard that you'll naturally grow them with rows, pull-ups, but I feel they're lagging behind my upper arms. I've mentioned this numerous times on video chats, and my favorite forearm exercises are not direct forearm work like you would think. It's not the wrist curls and the wrist curl and reverse wrist curl like a lot of people do. I believe in training your grip. If you get your grip strong, your forearms are going to get strong, and you want to do some direct grip training. So there's a lot of things that you can do for this, but one of the easiest tools is a heavy grips hand gripper. And I carry these with me. I mean, I got them here. You can get them on my website, leehayward.com. But this is one of the best tools you can use because it allows you to train your grip in a progressive overload fashion. They come in 6 different strengths, starting from 100 pounds in tension all the way up to 350 pounds in tension. So you can train your grip just like you would train any other exercise in a progressive overload fashion and build up. So that's what I would recommend. If you get your grip strength you improve your grip strength, your forearms are going to get bigger. It's just hand in hand. Like a stronger grip equals bigger forearms. Now, there's a lot of other things you can do for your forearms as well, like different types of gripping exercises, plate pinches. If you have any thick handles, you can use those. Fat grips is another great one. I mean, anything that you can do to really strengthen that grip is going to make a huge difference. But the tool that I like, again, is the Heavy Grips hand grippers. And I started using these back in 2004. And the reason I got involved with them was my grip strength sucked, because from early on in my training, I got used to using lifting straps, and I kind of abused the lifting straps. So I ended up using them for all my heavy rowing exercises, all my shrugs, deadlifts, rows, pull-ups, anything that involved your grip to any great degree. I was using the straps, and I did that for several years. And as a result, okay, yes, you can lift more when you're doing the rowing exercises, but your grip doesn't get the same stimulation. So what ended up happening is my grip was lagging behind. And how I knew that is because it was around that time I was getting interested in powerlifting, and I wanted to try my hand at a powerlifting competition, and I couldn't hold on to a deadlift for diddly squat because I didn't have the grip strength. So I said, I need to do something to really speed up the strength of my grip. And that's what drew me to the Heavy Grips hand grippers, because I started, going on, doing searches, figure out what can I do to build up a strong grip as quickly as possible. And that was the tool that I found. So I got involved with them, started using them back in 2004. And within 3 months of using the Heavy Grips hand grippers, I went from closing the Heavy Grips 200, was the strongest that I could close. I worked up to closing the 300, because back then they only made them from 100 to 300. And since then, they've actually added in another strength, which is the 350, which I've also went on to close thereafter. But within 3 months of using the Heavy Grips hand grippers, not only did my grip strength go up substantially, but I added a solid inch to my forearms in that length of time. And that's not newbie gains. That's actual solid gains, because I was training for about 10 years at this stage. So for someone who's been with a decade of training under their belt to make that kind of progress in such a short period of time, again, it goes to show the power of the Heavy Grips hand grippers. So I'm a huge fan of them, recommend them to all my coaching students, absolutely. And if you want to build up your forearms, it's one of the best tools that you can get. So head on over, leehayward.com, and you can pick them up for yourself. And if you want, even just do some YouTube search for like Lee Hayward Heavy Grips or Lee Hayward forearm exercises, and you should see them, because I have some videos where I go into detail about certain forearm exercises and demonstrate how to use the Heavy Grips and stuff like that as well. All right, let's move on. As I mentioned, we have Gabe is joining us. He says, how often should you have a refeed? That's a very individualized question, because it depends on what it is that you're training for. It depends on what kind of diet you're following. For the average person, they probably don't need any refeed, because the average person probably doesn't stick to a diet strict enough to justify a refeed meal. And for those of you who are wondering, what's a refeed? It's basically, if you're following a very low-calorie diet for fat loss and you've been strictly following that for a set period of time, what often happens is, if you keep your calories low, I mean, yes, it works for burning body fat because you're creating a calorie deficit, but the thing is, our metabolism isn't stationary. We're not like a combustion engine where we burn X amount of fuel based on the size of the engine. The way our metabolism works, it's very, there's a lot of fluctuation. So the more calories you eat, the higher your metabolism. The less calories you eat, the lower your metabolism. So it's not always calories in versus calories out. So where the whole idea of a refeed comes into place is, if you've been following a very low calorie diet and you've been very strict, sometimes you'll find that your fat loss may actually plateau because you're eating so few calories and your metabolism is slowing down. So that's where you can implement different strategies. Now, a refeed is just having some high calorie meal. Some people refer to it as a cheat meal or whatever. But I'm a bigger fan of carbohydrate cycling, where you actually go through phases of higher carbs and higher calories, phases of moderate carbs, moderate calories, and phases of low carbs, low calories. That's one of the advanced strategies that I use with a lot of my personal coaching students. And I find that it works well for people who are at that more advanced stage of fat loss. Now, again, the average person who's like dieting on and off again, and you know, they can't stick to a diet plan for more than a week or two before they cheat and binge and go off track. Well, you know, if that's the way it is, then there's no point in having a refeed. But if you're the type of person who has the discipline and the willpower, and you can actually stick to a program for a set period of time, then implementing different types of calorie cycling strategies, such as refeeds or carb cycling or whatever, that can have a positive impact. But again, it's really an individual thing. It's not like a one-size-fits-all cookie-cutter answer, because it's such a unique thing that applies to the individual situation. But if you would like to discuss some strategies with regards to nutrition and structuring your program to optimize fat loss, feel free to send me an email, and, you know, we can have a chat about this offline and really, you know, go into detail about what it is that you're trying to achieve and come up with a realistic action plan to help you do that. So again, if you want, just send me an email, leeh@leehayward.com, and I'll be more than happy to discuss this with you. All right, another question here. This one from Manuel saying, let's see, he says, I see people training on the sauna. What the heck? Is this healthy? Training on the sauna? What do you mean by that? Like people actually working out in the sauna? I mean, I don't know what you mean there, because I mean, I've been like, the saunas that I've been in are pretty small. I don't think you're actually going to work out in the sauna. Now, maybe I'm totally butchering the crap out of your question. I don't know. But you're saying, I've seen people training in the sauna. Is this healthy? No, it's not healthy. Shit. I mean, the sauna's hard enough to be in there just sitting there, let alone trying to train while you're in there. Yeah. I mean, if you want to elaborate on that question and give me some more context, it'd be great. But right now, I mean, I don't see how it's possible to even train in a sauna. I mean, I don't go in the sauna. I don't see treadmills and bench presses and a dumbbell rack in the sauna. So anyway, let's move on. Jesse is joining us. He says, I haven't been consistent with my training for a couple weeks now, but now that I have a set schedule, I plan to go back to my routine tomorrow, which was a power building routine. Should I ease back into it progressively or pick up where I left off? Anytime you take a layoff from your training, I would recommend for your first couple workouts back, ease into it. So, you know, even for your first week back, don't try and push it 100%. You know, stop at 70 or 80%. You know, so now, granted, 2 weeks isn't a huge setback, but it's still a little bit of one. So, you know, play it safe, be smart about it, and just ease yourself back in for the first week. So stop you can still do the same exercises and everything else. Just don't push yourself to failure. You know, purposely train a bit lighter, stop your set short of failure, and just allow your body to, build up the work capacity. Because surprisingly, you can like lose conditioning pretty quickly. Now, of course, you'll regain it again very quickly, but even a couple weeks off can be enough to just throw off your game and make you feel a bit weaker and not as solid with your training as you were before. So, be smart, ease back into it. All right. And Manuel saying this podcast, well, it's technically not a podcast. It's a live stream, but same idea. It says it's the best part of my workout routine. Oh, I'm glad you enjoy it. Really, I know we don't get a huge turnout for these sometimes, but the people who do turn up regularly really enjoy them. So again, I appreciate it. All right, Kevin's wondering, what is a good accessory move for the bench press? One of the best moves that I found to help bring up my bench press is the dumbbell bench press. I always found that if I got stronger with dumbbell bench presses, my barbell bench press went up as well. And when I look back over my training, some of the best personal records that I've had with bench pressing came after setting a personal best record in the dumbbell bench. I remember several years back, I was working as a personal trainer at a local gym. This was back in the early 2000s. And they were still in the process of actually like building the gym. I mean, the building was there, but I mean like getting all the equipment and everything else. So I actually started working there while they were still in the process of getting the equipment shipped in and everything else. And for several weeks, they didn't have any benches or barbells. So they had all the machines, they had all their dumbbells, but they never had like the bench press and the squat rack and stuff like that. They were still waiting on that to be shipped in. But, you know, it's a small town gym, right? So it was not like this big major franchise or whatever. It's a little mom and pop gym, but they opened it up anyway. So I was working there and I was working out there. So I had to go through a few weeks of training without access to any barbells. So during that time, obviously I wasn't doing any barbell bench presses. But what I did do is I really focused on dumbbell bench presses. So for this few week period, I went in there and I was really hammering away with the dumbbell bench presses and got quite good at it. I really focused on it, you know, set some new personal records in the dumbbell bench press. And then when they finally did get the barbells and the benches and all that brought in, I tried doing my bench press workouts. And within a couple workouts after that, I ended up setting a new personal record in the barbell bench press. So in my case, I've always found that the dumbbell bench press is a great accessory move for building up your regular barbell bench press. One of the best moves in my personal experience. So I definitely recommend that one. Other moves that you can look into as well, like power rack lockouts is a great one, especially just to build up the tendon strength and the confidence with handling heavier weight. You know, that often helps carry over. But the thing I like about the dumbbell bench press is it helps to strengthen the bottom portion of the lift. So, I mean, you'll feel really strong with powering the weight up from the bottom, whereas the power rack lockout is good for, obviously the top end strength, handling the lockout. So it really depends on where you find that your sticky point is in the bench press. If you have trouble getting the weight off your chest, focus more on the dumbbell bench. If you have trouble locking it out at the top, then you probably want to work on some more lockout work. All right, we have James is joining us. Alan is joining us. Okay, hey guys, nice to have you here. Another question here about grip strength. This one again is from Carnage, who asked about forearms earlier, saying, one more question about the grip. Does using a hook grip help with building a grip strength? I utilize it when the weights get heavier, and I stopped using straps for the same reasons you stated. A hook grip or a mixed grip, you're still using your natural grip more so than you would be if you're using straps. But what I would recommend, if you are going to use any of these, like the hook grip, I've never been a huge fan of the hook grip myself. I just find it so uncomfortable on the thumbs, and I don't have very long fingers, so I find it hard to really, wrap my fingers around the barbell enough to get a good hook grip. So if you find that it works well for you, I mean, by all means use it. But what I'd recommend, if your main goal is building up your grip strength, always start with a double overhand regular grip and train as heavy as you can until your grip starts to fatigue. Once you can no longer hold on to the barbell with a regular overhand grip, then you can implement the hook grip, or if you want to use a mixed grip or something like that. But always try to train to your max with the regular overhand grip first, so that you do get the maximum stimulation in your grip strength. All right, Ken is joining us from the UK, and he says it's 21:09. We don't use the 24-hour clock over here, at least I don't. But I know it's later over there, so it's late in the evening over there in the UK. 80s baby, 90s kids asking, does fruit and veg have the same thing? Can one replace the other? Not really. I mean, they're similar, but no, they're not the same, because it really depends on the fruits and the vegetables. I mean, you look up the nutritional profile of different fruits and vegetables, and they all have, a unique nutritional spectrum, right? Some are higher in certain nutrients than others. But what I would recommend is every single meal, try to consume fruit or vegetables with each meal. And ideally, you would have more vegetables than fruit, right? I mean, there's nothing wrong with fruit, but I mean, it does contain a lot of sugar. So you just want to factor that into your overall calorie intake. Vegetables, on the other hand, fantastic, especially if you're trying to train for fat loss. The more vegetables you eat, the better, right? I mean, they're great because they're very high in, nutrients, fibers, phytochemicals, phytonutrients. I mean, they'll help to fill up your belly with food volume, very low in calories. I mean, I love vegetables, especially when I'm training for fat loss. More vegetables, the better. But you can have fruit in moderation as well. Again, just realize that it is higher in calories because obviously it's higher in sugar. And, you want to just factor that into your daily totals. All right, what else we got? James is asking, do you have a deloading week where you drop your weight in half for a week? Personally, I don't. But there's a time and a place for deloading. With my own schedule, like the way it is right now, I'm not as super consistent with my workouts as I have been in the past. So sometimes, for example, like if I'm traveling, I'll automatically have a deload. And I do a fair bit of traveling. Like I usually, not a fair bit, but I mean, I usually travel a few times a year, right? So during those few weeks of the year when I'm traveling, that's a few weeks where my workouts are subpar, like maybe just doing like a half-ass workout at a hotel gym or something like that. So that's my deload, right? I don't need to structure in a specific deload because I find that my schedule isn't as super consistent. So, I mean, I really don't need it. But for people who are really strict and regimented and pushing the limits with their training, having a deload phase can be beneficial because if you find that you are pushing the limits of overtraining, having that structured deload phase in there can definitely help. What I find, I mean, if I feel that I'm pushing, the borderline of overtraining, I'll just simply take an extra couple days off. You let myself rest up, and usually that's fine. Sometimes I'll just change up my workout routine in general and, start doing different exercises. And I find sometimes a change is as good as a rest. But I purposely usually don't have a deload in my own case. Now, again, not saying that there's no purpose for it, but, it doesn't have to be that way for everybody. It really depends on the individual. And that's something that I'm really... The longer I've been around this whole iron fitness game, that's something that I really try and focus on a lot, is because when it comes to different opinions on training, like you go on YouTube, for example, and you might have one YouTuber saying, oh, I do this and that and the other thing, and you should do that too. And then someone else says the complete opposite. And then you're like, well, who's right? And they may both be right, but it depends on who they're speaking to. Right? I mean, you could take like a 55-year-old man who's just trying to get back in shape, or a 25-year-old who's getting ready for sports, like a sporting competition. They're two totally different ends of the spectrum, right? Two totally different levels of work capacity, different stages of life, different hormonal levels. I mean, you can't say that the one program is going to fit everybody. And that's one of the things that I don't like about a lot of the online fitness gurus, is they try and say this is the right way and that's the wrong way, when there's really no right or wrong. It all depends on the individual and their situation. So that's why I'm not a big fan of trying to give these one-size-fits-all cookie-cutter answers to say, like, well, everybody needs to deload, or everybody needs to do a refeed, or everybody needs to do this, that, or the other thing. Because you probably don't, right? You need to adjust the training based on where you're at right now at this stage and what you're going to need to move forward. And again, that's going to be that's going to be unique to the individual. But I'll try my best to offer my insights and suggestions on the different training strategies. So again, as for a deload, I personally don't do it because I don't need to. But, for a serious athlete or a power lifter or someone who's very consistent and structured with their training, it does have its place. Okay, we have Alan joining us. Let's see what he says. He says, good afternoon. Do you have a full body workout routine for men over 40? Yes, I do. I've got a good one that you can follow right on my homepage, or my YouTube homepage, that is. There's a total body workout for beginners. And that'd be a great one to start with. So again, just head on to my main YouTube channel page. Right there, just scroll down. You should see there's a playlist for beginner workouts. There's a total body one there. And if you want, you can even just type in to the YouTube search, Lee Hayward total body workout, and it should pop up there in the search results. That would be the one that I'd recommend you get started with, because it covers exercises for all the major movement patterns. So we have a horizontal pull, a horizontal press, a vertical pull, a vertical press, arm curl, arm extension, leg press, work for the core, work for the calves. Basically, I do a specific exercise for each of the major movement patterns. So you're going to hit all your muscle groups in balance, and it's great for building up your strength and your work capacity, and also improving your fitness and mobility at the same time. So that'd be a great place to start. And again, if you would like some help with coming up with a realistic training and nutrition program, send me an email. I mean, I'd be more than happy to have a chat with you. And we can discuss a realistic action plan to help move you in the right direction towards your goals. Okay, we have Donna is joining us. Just a second, now something by here. And what does Donna say? Donna says, what message you have for people who say we're all going to die one day, or the healthiest person can get hit by a car? I say they're right. We're all going to die someday. All right? That's the one universal commonality. I haven't met anybody yet who's lived forever. Well, I plan on living forever, but again, I don't know. But yes, based on statistics, we're all going to die someday. We haven't cheated death yet. And even the healthiest person can get hit by a car. Absolutely. But what does that have to do with anything? Like, I know what you're getting at, because you'll have people who will use that kind of BS as an excuse to eat whatever they want, not exercise, and totally, ignore their health and fitness, because they say, well, we're all going to die. But like, that's the same as saying, well, why even go to work? Why get a job? Why do anything? Why not just be a bum and live in a cardboard box on the street corner and beg for food? Like, why not do that? Right? Like, yes, we have a limited amount of time here on earth, but why not maximize it for what it's worth? Like, try and accomplish as much as you can, do as much as you can, live life to the fullest, rather than just, live in existence, just barely surviving, right? So, I mean, it's a crock of shit. I mean, that's what it is. But I know what you're saying. I've heard people say the same kind of crap before. And you know what? When people go on with that, I just ignore them. Because, I mean, if that's the level of thinking that somebody has, I don't even want to waste my time with them. I'll just move on and talk to somebody who's got more ambition in life. All right, Steve is joining us. Says, other than squats, what would you recommend for gaining quad muscles? I would recommend leg extensions, leg presses, lunges. Those are some of my favorites. I'm actually a big fan of the leg extension for the quads, because it's a pure quad isolation exercise. Of all the leg exercises, there's nothing that I feel works my quads better than the leg extension. Like, even squats, leg presses, all that. When I do leg extensions, I mean, you just get that isolated contraction right there in the quads. And I mean, I get the best mind muscle connection, the best pump. I mean, I love it. Now, I know it's a controversial exercise, and some people say they hate it. And I know like even some of the top fitness guys out there, I think Jeff Cavalier's got videos saying, oh, don't do the leg extensions, blah, blah, blah. And I mean, I've got all the respect in the world for Jeff, but there's some things that I disagree with him on, and that's definitely one of them. But yeah, I love leg extensions, right? If you want to build up your quads and that's a stubborn area, do them. It's a fantastic exercise. The leg press, another fantastic exercise. And again, lunges. Those would be my top 3 picks right there, besides squats. All right, Frederick is joining us, and he's asking, what is your biggest mistake in your fitness journey? Okay. Biggest mistake that's caused depression, frustration, etc. There's a few. How do you define the biggest? I'll just share what they are, because I mean, how do you actually rank one more than the other? But one big mistake that I've made that has probably set me back more than anything is not being respectful of my body and not knowing when to call it quits. Like, you have to learn the limitations of your body, and sometimes this is hard to do. You know, it takes a bit of trial and error, and unfortunately a lot of people have to get injured before they know how far they can go, right? Like how far, you don't know how far you can go until you've gone too far, right? I mean, that's the whole saying. But when it comes to I guess setbacks in your workouts, like if you skip a workout, that's not going to set you back in the greater scheme of things. You know, I mean, okay, you're not maximizing your progress, but you're not really setting yourself back that much. You know, if you cheat on your diet, right? I mean, okay, you're not maximizing your progress, but you're not really setting yourself back, unless it's, you know, you're cheating every single day and you don't have a diet. But if you get injured, you know, you pull something, strain something, tear something, especially the more serious injuries like tearing a muscle or tearing a tendon or ligament. If you tear something or get seriously injured, that is going to set you back big time, because, you know, I mean, a skipped workout, big deal, right? You can always pick it up and resume your training the next day. You know, you blow your diet, big deal. You can always get back on track the next day. You get injured, you're not getting back on track the next day, right? That injury could set you back weeks, it could set you back months, and in some cases, you may never fully recover from it. I mean, I remember my first major injury. I tore some muscles in my right armpit area. I say I tore my lat, but technically it was like some of the surrounding muscles. The lat itself didn't tear, but like it's a tie-in muscles between the lat and the tricep. And even to this day, there's a gap right there in my right armpit. I mean, right where I'm touching there, there's a gap. Like there's no muscle right there. I can just touch tendon, right? It's crazy. And that was my first major injury. And that took over a year before I was back to doing normal workouts. Like before I had the strength to do a pull-up, it took me a full year to heal that area. And I mean, that was a big setback. So that was like a year of training that I wasn't able to push myself and to my capacity. So it was very frustrating, because I did that. I got that injury right after I won my first and only ever bodybuilding competition. So I was at my best. You know, I was right at a peak. You know, I've been training and competing. I think I had 12 years of competition under my belt. I finally won an overall title in a bodybuilding competition. I was feeling on the top of the world. And then right after the show, you know, when you're eating more food and you have that post-show rebound, and I was feeling super strong in the gym and everything else. And I pushed myself too hard too soon, end up tearing that muscle. And then the next year just went down the crapper. So that was a big setback. So learning your limitations, making sure that you're warming up before your workouts, and just having that, it's like a sixth sense where you're doing your workouts, but you have to know, like, man, I should call it quits. I should call it quits. You know, it just, today doesn't feel like my day, or I don't think I should try for that extra set or whatever. You know, having that awareness, that, I guess, sensory acuity, whatever, to know that, you know, it's better to call it quits, skip the exercise, or even skip the workout, you know, live to lift another day, versus trying to push beyond the pain, you know, like, and end up risking an injury, which could set you back big time. So that's one big mistake. Another big mistake that I've made was trying to figure everything out on my own. That when I started competing in bodybuilding, and even in my early years of just training in general, I just, you know, like a lot of people, I just fumbled around trying to figure shit out on my own. And that is the slow way to do something, to try and learn from your own trial and error. The easiest, the fastest way is to find somebody who's done what you want to accomplish and model what they're doing, right? So get yourself a coach, get yourself a mentor, get yourself somebody who's been there and done that, and get them to help you. That is the shortest, fastest, easiest way to make progress. Trying to figure it out all on your own is the slowest, hardest way. So I would have saved myself years of frustration if I had hired a coach right from the get-go. And when I look at like my bodybuilding competition, like the first few shows I did were a total washout, because I didn't know what I was doing. I was reading the muscle magazines and trying to piece together stuff from talking to people at the gym and everything else. And I mean, I didn't have a clue what I was doing, right? And it showed in my conditioning. But then I've decided, you know what, the hell with this, I'm going to hire a coach. So I actually hired someone to help me get ready for my shows and to train me. And it made a world of difference, because now I had, not only someone who was experienced, but someone with that outside set of eyes looking in, who could really tell me, no, this is what you need to do, that you don't do this, you do that. And just that guidance and that insight made such a world of difference. And plus it took the stress out of it, because I'm not here trying to figure everything out on my own. I have somebody else that I can try and learn from. I mean, it's almost like, imagine trying to go to school and learn all the subjects on your own without a teacher, right? I mean, it'd be pretty darn hard to do. But if you have that teacher, or if you have a tutor or someone who can help you, it makes it so much easier. The same applies with your workouts. If you try to figure it out all on your own, that's the hardest, slowest, most frustrating way to figure things out. Having a coach, hands down, the shortcut to success right there. So those are two mistakes. What are some other ones? Those are big ones right there. There's a few other minor ones. Another mistake that I've made over the years is letting myself get too fat in the off season, or trying to force feed myself to gain weight. I'm not a big fan of old school bulking. I think that is a mistake. Because a lot of times when people try and purposely bulk up, they end up just getting fat in the process. And I was guilty of that. And, if I had a coach to guide me, I probably would have learned the difference. But I was just simply looking at gaining weight on the scale and getting bigger. And, so I in the past, I bulked up to as much as 240 pounds, which at my height of 5'6" is pretty darn heavy. And I even have pictures of what I looked like at 240 pounds. And it ain't pretty. I was just sloppy fat. But it was weird, because in my mind, I was just thinking, I'm bulked up, but I still thought I was muscular, right? I still thought I was muscular until I actually looked at pictures. And then I got the real third-person perspective. I'm like, holy shit, look how fat I'm after getting, right? So getting too fat in the off season, or getting too fat from bulking, that is another huge mistake, right? Your body can only build so much muscle, and you don't need a massive calorie surplus to maximize that. A slight calorie surplus, consistency with your nutrition in terms of the quality of the nutrition, consistency with your workouts, your rest, your lifestyle, all that. I mean, you can maximize your muscle gains without getting fat in the process. So those are a few mistakes that I made along the way. I'm sure if we kept talking, I could probably go on and on, but I'm going to try and answer a few more questions before I clue it up for today. All right, let's see what else we got. Frederick's joining us. He says, can you stretch a muscle not out? I have one in my upper back. You probably pinched a nerve. That's probably what you're thinking is a muscle knot. I mean, chances are it's a pinched nerve. And I mean, you can try massage or something like that, hot and cold therapy, maybe a foam roller or something along those lines to ease it up. But more often than not, time is what's going to heal that. Just giving it time to work itself out. Now, I would recommend light activity. So like you could do some just mobility work. If you want some good exercises that you can do at home, just do a search for Lee Hayward warm-up routine. I think I've got a video. It might be called like total body warm-up or something like that, but just Lee Hayward warm-up. And it goes over some different exercises that you can do, like arm circles and different fly variations that you can do. I mean, stuff at home. I mean, it doesn't require any fancy equipment or whatever, but it just helps to improve blood flow and circulation and mobility throughout these muscles, and it will help to ease up the tension that you've got there in your back. But more often than not, it's not something that you're just going to like get rid of in the matter of, you know, a single workout or a single massage session or whatever. It's usually going to take a few days or maybe even a week or more to fully work its way out. You know, usually it takes time for stuff like this, but you can speed up the process for sure. Okay, what else we got? Gabe's joining us. All right, says he bought the cycle bulking diet program, getting ready to start it. He says he's 185 pounds at 12% body fat. Awesome. Well, looking forward to following along with your progress. So please keep me updated with how that goes. And again, I'm looking forward to seeing your results with that. So again, if you want to check that out, it's cyclebulkdiet.com. It's a program that I made that's geared towards lean bulking. So building mass without getting fat in the process, which is one of the mistakes that I mentioned earlier in the questions above. All right, Liam is joining us. He says he's a teenager weighing 120 pounds. That's glad to have you joining us, man, because I tell you, you're in the right place at the right time. Because I wish I had something like this available when I was a teenager and started working out. Because back when I started working out, there was no internet. There was not a fraction of the information that we have available today. So the fact that you're here, you're on the right track. So I congratulate you for that. Okay. Evie's joining us and saying, what's your thoughts on alcohol and muscle gain? I'm going to the gym regularly, but I also tend to drink quite a lot every week. How much does alcohol affect your gains? All right. It doesn't help. Let's say that. I mean, I don't know what your definition of drinks quite a lot every week is or how often that is, but I'll just kind of give you some suggestions here. Now, if you want more information about this, just do a search for like Lee Hayward alcohol on YouTube, because I've got several videos out there where I talk about the negative impacts that drinking have on your muscle building and fat loss goals. But one thing that's definitely going to be hindered, alcohol is going to suppress fat burning. So if your goal is to try and lose fat, alcohol is going to be a big hindrance to that. It's also quite hard on, you know, your natural anabolic hormones, testosterone, and things like that. So it's definitely going to hinder your progress. I'm not going to lie about that. However, if you only drink, let's say you once a week, let's say you like on the weekend, Saturday night or Friday night, whatever, you go out and have a few drinks with your friends, and then that's it. That's going to have less of an impact on your overall progress because it's only once a week that you're actually causing, you know, basically a disturbance in your training through the alcohol. And then you have the other 6 days where you can train and eat normally. Where this really becomes a problem is people who are drinking on a regular basis. Like you see a lot of people literally drink every day, you know, like, you know, wine with dinner, or they come home from work and they have a few beer after work every day or something like that. If you're drinking alcohol every day, you're literally, you know, disrupting that whole cycle every day. I think you'd be better off just having, you know, 1 day a week where you let yourself loose and have a few drinks versus doing it consistently throughout the week. Now, with that being said, I personally don't drink alcohol at all. I used to years ago, but it's something that I didn't enjoy. I mean, I don't like the effects of it. You know, I don't like the negative effects, and of course the way it made me feel. So I personally don't do it anymore. And you know, bottom line, it's going to hinder your progress. I mean, if you want more information, again, go search for my videos rather than me trying to list it all out. But I'm not going to, you know, sugarcoat it, try and say, oh, it's okay, you can drink as much as you want and don't need to worry about it, blah, 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 because it is. It's going to, you know, if you're serious about making progress in your fitness, then, you know, it's definitely going to hinder things. Suraya, I believe it is. Suraya, Suraya, saying, for people like me that can't eat much and also have acid reflux, Having a hard time reaching a daily protein intake. Do you recommend longer rest periods instead of working out almost every day? I wouldn't change the workouts, but I would look into your nutrition and see what you can do to optimize that, because there's different things that we can look into. Maybe your food choices. Maybe there's certain foods that are triggering that acid reflux that you need to eliminate from your diet. There's another thing you can look into, like digestive enzymes and probiotics and things like that that can help aid your digestion and make it easier for you to process the food that you eat. One in particular that I'm a huge fan of is these digestive enzymes and probiotics from Bioptimizers, and they're specifically designed for helping your body break down protein. They have the highest amount of protease of any digestive enzyme, and protease is the enzyme that breaks down protein and allows your body to digest and utilize it and reap the benefits of it. So I would look into those things versus trying to scale back your workouts, because I mean, scaling back your workouts isn't going to help, but figuring out how to optimize your digestion, trying to figure out what foods are triggering the problems that you're having in terms of the acid reflux and the digestion issues. Figuring that out is what you need to do, not modify your workouts. So, I mean, you may have to go to your doctor, you may have to see a dietitian or something like that, but probably start with your doctor and ask for a referral, to someone who can actually help you with this. That's what I would recommend versus trying to, go easy in the gym, thinking that that's going to cancel out the, a poor diet, because it's not. All right, let's see what else we've got. All right, Ken is joining us. He says, I remember downloading your supplement booklet back in 2006. Bodybuilding Supplement Secrets Revealed, I believe it was. That, man, you've been around for a while. 2006, I remember that. And a lot of the supplements, I mean, some of them are still around today, like the basic ones. But a lot of that is outdated information now. But cool. I'm glad to have you, glad to have your support over the years. I mean, man, this is going on 13 years now. That's awesome. All right, James is with us, James Hall. Says, thanks for your answer. Very helpful. You're welcome. Okay, what else we got? Ken saying that the biggest he ever got was following that supplement guide. Awesome. Glad to hear you benefited from it. Really cool. Okay. Georgie, I think that's how you pronounce your name, is saying, can I train 6 hours a day nonstop? I don't know. Can you? I sure can't. As far as the productivity, there's no point in training 6 hours a day nonstop unless you're like some triathlete or Ironman or doing some crazy high endurance. But if your goal is actually building muscle, that is totally counterproductive, because when it comes to building muscle, you just need to do enough to stimulate the muscle, then get out of the gym and let that muscle rest, recover, and grow. Doing more beyond what's required is just breaking you down further, and it's like digging you into a hole, right? It's not speeding up your progress. Like, the whole idea of more is better is a crock of BS, right? Like, the only time you would do hours of training like that is if you're doing some, extreme endurance type of training. And that is not going to be conducive to building muscle. All right, another question here. This one's from, again, some of these names, I'm not good at pronouncing them. Prague Raw 1, 2, 3, 4. Can early morning workouts add stress instead of reducing it? I have a 9-to-5 job, and it's hard to work out at any other time. However, since I started working out in the morning, I have developed stomach issues, which doctors said might be because of stress. All right. I don't know if it's just a correlation, but working out in the morning shouldn't cause any more stress than working out at any other time of day. In fact, if you look at it from a practical point of view, first thing in the morning is as rested as you're going to be, because you've just had all night of sleep, and then you work out in the morning. So that is the optimal time in terms of rest and recovery, because you're not exhausted or beaten down from the day. If you work out later in the day, then you've already had your day of work on top of that, and that's just compounding to the level of fatigue that you're bringing into the gym. Now, I know some people are morning people, some people are night owls, right? So it really depends on your individual situation, but I really don't think that the workouts themselves would be causing the stress issues. Now, again, I don't know. I mean, I don't know your situation or what other stressors you have going on in your life, but if it's something you want, I mean, you could try working out at a different time of day, see if that works. But some of the most consistent people that I know personally are morning people. I mean, they go to the gym first thing in the morning because it's, like I say, you've rested all night, you wake up, your body is as refreshed as it's going to be, and then you get your workout done first thing in the morning, get it out of the way before the rest of your day can get you busy and distract you from doing everything else. So I really don't think that that should be a big issue, but again, I don't know what other things you got going on that would be causing stress. So this is something you would really have to discuss with your doctor, because stress is huge, and I mean, it could be emotional stress, physical stress, and again, I really, I'm not a doctor. Don't even pretend to be one on YouTube, so I can't really address that. All right, let's see what else we got. See what else we got. Okay, we got Mr. Retro Angel saying, I do cardio after every weight training session. My question is, should I skip cardio on leg day, or is it okay to do cardio even if I've had an intense leg workout? I'd still do it. I'd still do the cardio on the leg day, just as a form of active recovery, because when you do cardio, it helps to circulate blood flow, helps to reduce the lactic acid buildup in the muscles, and it could actually help with the recovery. So yeah, you can still do it, but obviously, I mean, just do some easy cardio, maybe like the elliptical or walking on the treadmill or easy stationary bike. I wouldn't do some like high intensity cardio, like no spin classes, no high intensity sprinting or anything crazy. Just do some low intensity cardio after your leg workout, and that'll be fine. Okay, let's see. I'm going to answer another question. Let's move on. I know we got a lot of questions coming through. It's pretty cool. Seeing I had a screwed up start to this whole video chat. Glad to see we got some questions coming through here. Mad Devils is asking, what do you think are the most overrated and underrated exercises for hypertrophy? All right, that's an interesting question. And you know what? I'm really not, I'm going to give you not the answer you're looking for, but I'm going to give you my honest opinion. And it really depends on the individual and the situation. And the reason why I say that is because certain exercises work well for some people and certain exercises don't. And I'll just throw out some examples. Like a lot of guys say, the squat is the best exercise you can do. Like squats are the king, right? If you want to get big, you got to do squats. Well, not everybody is built to squat. If you look at some of the best squatters of all time, they have a particular body type that makes it more advantageous to squat. I mean, look at Tom Platz, the classic, the king of squats, right? I mean, nobody could squat like Tom Platz. And you look at his body type. I mean, he was short, or he is. I mean, he's still around and he's still squatting, but he's short and he has that compact body type, and just his mobility and everything else. I mean, he just is built to squat. You look at some taller guys, especially people who are over 6 feet tall, they typically can't squat like Tom Platz because their limbs are longer, their torso is longer, and it just, it's not the same. And I remember back the spring, I was down in Florida training at Powerhouse Gym in Tampa, Florida, and I was actually working out with Frank Rich. He was a fella I met up with down there. He's over 6 feet tall, right? I'm 5'6", so two totally different body types. He's got the tall physique, I've got the short physique, and we were doing squats, and I had no trouble, doing full squats, ass to the floor, boom, banging it out. And he couldn't do that. Like for him to do a parallel squat was challenging. But due to my body type, totally different body type than his, I can just bang out full squats, no trouble, right? Whereas he can't. But yet there was other exercises that he was better at than I was. So it really depends on your body type. So I don't like to say that, okay, this exercise is good and that exercise is bad, because it really depends on the individual, their body type, their mobility, and whatnot. And sometimes you'll even see exercises that, some people think are not great exercises, but then someone else does it and loves it, right? Like we mentioned earlier, I mean, the leg extension, like some people say leg extensions, oh, don't do them. Oh, you hear the crying. Oh, did you oh, I think he banged his head. You okay, buddy? He was playing with a... No, he was walking up the stairs, he banged his head on that little guardrail. Okay. All right. He banged his head on the rail. All right, that's probably going to be my cue to clue up this video chat, because I'm going to have to go be Dr. Dad here now and look after Harvey. Anyway, as far as the exercises, it really depends on the individual and their situation. And there. So with that being said, I'm going to clue up the video chat. We did go almost an hour, so we still had a full video chat nonetheless. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I do appreciate the support, and thanks for your patience with the delay with this video chat. Hopefully next time we won't have the delays and we'll have a smooth chat from start to finish. So have yourself a fantastic weekend, and I will talk to you next time. Take care. Over and out.